crashed. There we are. Boom. Sorry about that. God only knows what happened. The whole system crashed. Literally, I was looking at some emails. Clearly, they were spam. Lovely. And it crashed the system. Hello, everybody. I'm Russ Kane. This is the Midday Show. Why does it always happen at 1 minute to noon? It's quite extraordinary. You know him. You love him. Ladies and gentlemen, the king of everything within I'm going to say 5 mile radius of the Tolworth Tower, Neil Longie Long.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you very, very much. Thank you so much. I'm all good. Very, very odd. It was just odd. I couldn't shut anything down. I couldn't reload. The whole system just blanked out. Now, have you ever been to the Antique Roadshow?
No.
Do you ever watch the Antique Roadshow?
It used to be on Sunday evenings, and I kind of found it boring, I must admit.
Right. This conversation isn't going to go well then.
But okay, yes, I love it.
You don't have to love it. You don't have to love it. So I find it gentle and rather charming, the Antique Roadshow. And
well, the problem is the Antiques Roadshow nowadays is more of a radio reunion.
Yay! Wah, 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 wah. And that, ladies and gentlemen, why he's the king of comedy of Southwest London.
Go on, make your point, sir.
All right. Cheers, everybody. So, Antique Roadshow. I didn't know what to expect, and went along with a very dear friend, very dear indeed, and went along. And they've got tickets, and I thought, well, so drove to Ealing, where it was held at Penshanger Manor or Penshanger Hall. Can't remember. Anyway, get there, right? Park and multi-story in Ealing Broadway. And I see the queue. Okay. This is the queue to get in. So 20 minutes, half an hour. Eventually we get in. You get a wristband like you're going into Glastonbury or something, right? Millions of very earnest 12-year-olds running around with clipboards, looking very earnest, busy. And then we had some ceramics, okay, and asked where one went with ceramics. Well, over there's the queue, but Neil, just for ceramics. So there's another queue for paintings, another queue for jewelry. And imagine a little garden furniture thing set up and this huge like lawn, and that's where it is. Joined the queue just for ceramics at 1 o'clock. What time did we get to the front of the queue? Come on. Neil Long. That's your first answer?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't get the speedboat or the holiday to Barbados, but you're still in the game. You're still in the game. You could win the lovely, lovely fondue set. Now, Neil, I can give you one more chance, or you can spend your life.
5 o'clock.
Which spot on.
Really?
The queue for just ceramics was 4 hours. So how does it work? Well, I didn't know what to expect, so I kept wandering off. Was it worth it? Well, it was an interesting experience. It's something that you can tick off your bucket list. I got some nice little photos of the presenters. I got to talk to my favorite, which is Mark Smith. It was just him, and I wandered up. I had a chat about a particular episode and stuff like that. He was very charming. The best thing about it was everybody was so polite, so terribly British, charming, and you got to know the people in the queue. Well, you would after 4 hours of standing next to them, and we just chatted and everything like that. And the expert, when eventually the ceramics was shown, was incredibly knowledgeable. Blah blah blah. But you don't actually see. I don't know what I expected. Maybe I thought there'd be like stalls, or there'd be things like that. But it was a beautiful day. Thank God. Had it been raining, I'd have gone home. Jesus, it's nothing. Absolutely. Graham Pack says, I like hearing about the history of how they get hold of the article, whether from a junk shop handed off from generation. Well, there was one woman. I'm not going to spoil.
That's a bit like your jokes, Graham.
You are on fire, baby, fire. Absolutely on fire, fella.
Guess what I
Anyway, it
did
was an
yesterday?
interesting experience, but what was the price? I'm not joking. So I wandered off, got a coffee, obviously. There's a little store, but not a huge amount, like maybe 5 stalls there that were selling stuff, right? What was the cost of an ice cream? Little tub of ice cream.
Oh, £5.
Come on, £5 on the nose. Double your money? Double your money? Okay. Remember, you could lose everything, Neil. How much was the cost of a sausage roll?
£7.
Oh my God, absolutely right. So, Neil and I, by the way, have not chatted about this at all. Wow. Yeah, sausage roll was £7. And an ice cream was wowzer. How did you guess that? Seriously, I had no idea. I didn't buy it, by the way. I couldn't bring myself to spend £7 on a sausage roll. You know me, I just had an espresso. That was fine for me.
Yeah.
No, the queue for the toilets. Graham, you're wrong. Graham's being kind of thinking he's being rather amusing and practical. Imagine the queue for the toilet. No, that was fine. They had 800 billion gazillion portaloos. That was fine. But it's such a popular thing. But there was one bit, I'm not going to spoil the surprise, where a lady brought along stuff from one of her relatives who'd been sent behind enemy lines in World War II.
Wow.
And a woman, one of the first women to be enrolled in what became the SAS eventually. And she was wounded 3 times, disappeared for 10 days. They couldn't contact her at all. She got separated. It was a hell of a thing. And when the great Mark Smith told her the value, the entire place, including me, went. It was one of the. It'll be the highlight of whenever. I guess the show won't be on for about a year or so. But if you see somebody going.
Because it was Hugh Scully that used to do it, wasn't it?
Was it? Oh yeah. Is he alive? Dead? What happened to you? I think
I
he's
don't
dead.
know.
Look him up.
And I always fancied that, because I was quite young when it was on.
Fancied Hugh Scully?
No, I always fancied that. Well, it's one of the things that was just on. Your parents watched it, and I was like, But what I always wanted to happen was that they think they got this precious jewel, and then someone like Hugh Scully turns around and says, "Actually, it's worthless."
Garbage. It's just tat. Yeah. I saw a few of those because not everything is filmed. Like our ceramic section wasn't filmed. And so I kept popping over to see. So somebody came it's funny, with this glass bowl. I'm just standing there. It's not being filmed. I'm just standing there. It was like just to move my legs occasionally. We took turns in the queue. It was very interesting. And she brings this glass bowl, woman, and the guy goes, yeah, mass produced. And when it was bought, cost pennies. And you think, oh, they probably thought this was like fabulous, you know.
How much do you think we get for a Pat and Mick record?
Oh, priceless. I think if you did a Pat and Mick record, look, you know, Let's All Chant.
Oh, Haven't Stopped Dancing Yet. That was the best one.
Haven't Stopped Dancing Yet. With the video. What video was I in? I was in one of those silly videos. Yeah. Pat and Mick asked if I'd be in the video. So
brilliant. No, they never asked me.
It takes forever. And I'm holding on to the wing of the flying eye or some nonsense. I don't know. They were huge hits. Everybody forgets and takes the piss out of Pat and Mick. Those records were gigantic sellers.
I wasn't taking the piss.
No, you weren't. No, you weren't. But people go, oh, Pat and Mick. They were massive sellers. They were huge.
Well, most of the stuff that Stock Aitken and Waterman did was. Guess what I did over the weekend?
Tell me. I want to know.
I went to Thorpe Park.
Why?
I just had a day out.
You just thought you'd have a day out there?
I had a day out.
Did you enjoy it?
Yes, we had a fantastic time. And there was one thing. They got this ghost train there. And it's live actors. And the acting is so good.
I would be terrified. I couldn't do it.
At one point, people actually ran out screaming.
I would.
From one room to the other. It was that well done. And it just... But the thing is, I wanted to have a bit of a go at being one of the live actors because I've got a bit of a inner performer, an inner ham, and I kind of like to do that.
You're like John Hamm.
like
Move on.
quite like to do that stuff. So
Yeah.
I thought I'd have a go. And the way they dress the rooms and mock up these scenes, to me, is just incredible. The detail is unbelievable. And they've mocked up this perfect replica of a lady's toilet. So I hid in there. And then when someone came in, I jumped out. I went, "Ah!" like that.
Yeah.
Escorted off the park by security guards, calling it
No.
highly inappropriate behaviour. I just wanted to join in.
There was one bit at the Antique Roadshow that was a real, I'm sure it'll make it onto the final edit. So a lady comes up with a load of costume jewelry, right?
Oh, yeah.
And shows the costume jewelry to the expert, whoever the expert was. And suddenly everything stops, and instantly the expert calls over security, joking aside, to stand by the jewelry.
What, costume jewelry?
It wasn't costume jewelry. It was real. And the owner didn't realize that what she thought was costume jewelry was actually real gems and worth a fortune. Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
Isn't it an incredible thing that, and I wonder how many of this applies to, that there could be stuff in your life that you own that you don't know about. And people go through their life thinking, I haven't got enough money. And all the time,
it's sitting there. It's sitting there. Well, I mean, I've never seen that. I've never even seen that on the show, and I watch most episodes. It's because I find it gentle. It's like the repair shop in a horrible, brutal world that's heading towards another civil war. I think it's great to have something which is really just charming, which it was. And I have to say, the atmosphere.
Quintessentially British.
Well, yes. And there's nothing, it's very easy. And I know you weren't, by the way. I know you weren't, but it's so easy to mock that. And mock stuff which is gentle and charming and not dangerous and not crazy and not foaming at the mouth and wanting to kill everybody and chop their heads off.
Yeah, it's like
pleasant.
It's like kind of the beyond paradise of
beyond paradise. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Christopher Marshall with a K.
I love Chris Marshall. I think he's great.
I'd love to meet him because I would really enjoy his work. I've always
I do very much.
His work.
Very much.
While you were thought parking and getting thrown out of the women's toilet, that was a very good gag.
Thanks.
Good. I didn't see it coming at all.
Neither did they.
Hey, I conducted my first wedding ceremony on Saturday, and it was just joyous as a celebrant. I'd not done I've got a funeral this week I've got to travel to while you're doing your Wednesday show. I shall be on a train to Bristol doing a big funeral out there. But this was a wedding. I didn't know the people particularly, and went along and did the service, and it was just wonderful. It was just a joy, an absolute joy to perform, an absolute joy to see everyone's smiling faces and everything like that. And it was great. It was really, really
on Wednesday. By the way, on my show are going to be this is our guest Claire Myers.
Okay. What does the book say?
Some Boys I Knew by Claire Myers.
Okay. And
it's about dealing with narcissists.
Ooh. But why is it called Some Boys I Know? Some Boys I Know. Why is it boys who are just a narcissist? What's that about?
Because she's a heterosexual woman.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I'm not saying that females can't be narcissists, but I'm saying
jeez, of course they can. Of course that you ever dated an actress? Don't. Just don't ever do that. Diabolical. Anyway, I
once knew a guy that was a narcissist. He would just stand in pubs wanting people to look at him. I'm on fire today. Sorry, they just keep
You're
on going.
really on fire. Ever since you got thrown out the toilet at Thorpe Park. It's narcissism is ghastly, and the world's full of it. And I'm sure I'm going to be really careful. I'm walking straight into a minefield, but a lot of the problems are because the people involved are narcissists, and they've found a cause whatever that cause may be, finally for people to say, look at me, I'm great, I'm like fabulous, look at me, I've found a little home, where I'm accepted, even though the home is full of lunatics. I think that is part of where we're going. I don't know what's happened to our guest, not a clue.
Who is it supposed to be?
Well, that's a good question. That is an intelligent question. That's a sort of caliber of question that I expect from Neil Longie Long.
Thanks.
The agent offered me two, and we got. I think she's got lost in the toing and the froing of the of all the emails. Me saying, yeah, fine, okay, whatever. That's really interesting. One of the guests that we will be having at some point, and I'm going to save it for when you and I are on together. And I interviewed him with Mark Collin on our podcast on Friday, Walk the Talk, The Hero's Journey, which you can get on Spotify or get it on Apple or anywhere really. And it'll be out in a couple of weeks. And this guy, who's got a American guy, lives in London now, is the guest head of security at Thorpe Park. That's good for you, Graham. That's very good. No,
that isn't bad for you, actually, Graham.
He's been fired. He's been fired ever since they threw Neil out of the toilet. He left. Well, I had him on for two reasons. One is to talk about the show. But the show's really interesting. It's been made. It's on. I think it's on Apple, and it's on. He says it's on Amazon, and I think they're making a musical of it. Can you believe? Anyway, moving to one side. The really interesting meat in the sandwich was that he had been heavily involved in Scientology and then wanted to leave Scientology. It's a great podcast. It's really good. I can't wait to hear this.
Yeah, did they make it a little difficult, shall we say?
Well, Neil, funny you should say that. It didn't go quite swimmingly as planned, I think is fair to say. Once you're in, you're in. But, life is the yin and yang. There's always two sides to a coin, and there's two sides to every story. There's their version, somebody else's version. In the middle lies the truth. Who the hell knows? This is good. This is coming in from New York State. This is for you, Longie. You should check out Craig Malkin's book, Rethinking Narcissism. He's a professor and researcher.
Perhaps we'll talk about that when you're on the show. We have a date for Asa Don Brown to come on the show, by the way.
Get out! No.
Yeah. See, I
get getting him.
See, I get the guests.
Yeah.
Mine turn up.
You get one. That's really cruel. That's really cruel. That's really unfair. After all I've done for you.
I know. Sorry.
And remember this, Neil. I made you, and I can break you. Never forget that. Idiot. Right. Why am I not surprised to read this? Are you ready? No one watching around the world is going to be surprised. Elizabeth Green. I did a Scientology course once.
But wasn't that L. Ron Hubbard?
Yeah, sure. It was all started by L. Ron
invented
Hubbard.
it, and he made it clear that he invented it. So if it's clear that he invented it, why would you believe that any more than you'd believe what you saw Darren Brown doing?
Well, I don't know. It's a fascinating subject. And of course, it's deemed to be a religion. And the reason the Scientology is deemed to be a religion is for tax. Did you know that?
No.
Because if you're religion, officially, the tax situation is completely different than if you're just a fundraising organization. Completely different. There are huge tax advantages to you being officially recognized as a religion. Look at this one. Now, here we go. Would you care to read this out, Mr. Thorpe Park?
Right, we lived under a narcissist for 3 years.
Oh,
a total
God.
pain. Everything with her had to be done yesterday, while she could take as long as she wanted.
Uh-oh.
Even had her hired gardeners insult my wife when I was at work, confronted the lot of them when I got back, and burst a little self-obsessed bubble for good. For you.
Blimey. That's a weird, there's so much to unpack in that. What were the situations? How did that work out? What is this? What is Elizabeth Green saying about Scientology? It was a written course. We were just in a room together. Then I left at the end. Well, and that was it, Elizabeth. That was it. You didn't get more involved and everything like that?
No, I wouldn't go near it personally. But
I
that's
wouldn't.
just-
I wouldn't personally touch it, but if it gives you comfort, see, my argument is this, and this is, I know, very controversial, but hear me out before you start screaming, everybody. Okay. Basically, L. Ron Hubbard was a science fiction writer, pretty successful too, as it so happens, and he created. Now, whether he believed it or not, put that to one side. He created a philosophy, and he created a whole understanding of how we all came about. And people look at it and go, well, that's just nonsense. That's rubbish. And I look at some aspects of religion and I go, well, that's just nonsense. So I'm not that critical. I'm not talking about the methods. I'm talking about if you're going to set something up, you can make up anything, really, can't you? And everyone goes, yeah, that's good, or that's rubbish. I don't find it, like miracles. I go, I'm not talking about Derren Brown series miracles. Miracles, you go, really? Yeah, that really happened? You think, you really believe that happened? And if it gives people comfort, fine. If it gives people the right to go and chop somebody's head off, I'm not quite so enthusiastic about it. I think that's where it lies.
Agreed.
If you're not doing anybody any harm, believe what the hell you like. None of my business. Whatever gets you through, that's fine. Oh God, look, Elizabeth, is there anything you haven't tried? Look at this. I was a follower of a guru in it. You won't get me near it. You wouldn't get me near the con artists. I was a follower of a guru in India in the 70s. Wild, Wild Country on Netflix? Wild, Wild Country on Net? What? No, completely lost. I dip my toe, but I don't get sucked into anything. Good. I don't touch them with a barge pole, personally. Because
Can I tell you about my new podcast?
I want to hear about it.
Can I plug it? Okay,
Sure.
I've had to censor it slightly because it's a bit rude, but it's available on iTunes and all the other good streaming services. It's called the Dating Podcast.
Whoa!
And it's all about dating disaster stories. And it's very funny.
Oh God, I got several hundred.
Yeah, most people have. I'd like to have you on, actually. Can I tell you a quick story from it? What?
Sorry, you triggered me completely. It's a terrific idea. Bravo, you. Is it just you or you with your pals?
Me and circles of friends, because everyone's got dating disaster. I'd love to have you on, Russ.
I see. I wasn't.
Can I tell you one quickly?
Go ahead. I mean,
So a guy who I work with at Radio Jackie, a guy called Fraser, great lad, and he said he was on a date, and he's a stand-up as well.
Okay.
And she says, "Tell us a joke," which
Well,
people
up the
say to
date
comedians
during
all
the
time.
date.
Yeah, and people say that to comedians all the time. Tell us a
It's
joke.
horrible. It's a horrible thing. Yeah.
And he's quite thoughtful about it. He said, I can either do an average joke and get a meh. I'd rather an awful joke and she think I'm awful, or I could do a really good joke and waste my material. So he went for the middle ground.
Yeah.
And he said, all right, horse walks into a bar.
A what?
Barman says, horse walks into a bar.
Horse walks into.
Yeah. Now, bear in mind, he's on a date here. It gets a bit dark here. And the barman says, why the long face? Old joke.
Yeah.
And the horse said, because I've been diagnosed with cancer. Now, that was the joke. That was the joke he told her. Wait. He happened to be on a date with the only woman in the area who just had to have her horse put down because it had cancer.
No.
So she starts crying and the date was over. True story.
Holy God. It's a horrible joke, by the way. I
It is a
get
horrible
the point.
joke.
You're taking a very old joke and you're trying to give it a modern twist.
Oh, yeah. I'm not making fun of cancer.
I think it's a horrible joke.
But how unlucky. What are the chances of that?
Almost zero.
Yeah.
That is bizarre, man. Did she get up and walk out?
Yeah. Makeup going everywhere and made her cry. And...
Yeah. Did he ever apologize? What happened? Nothing. He just took the
best
route. He took the best route.
Ever saw each other again?
No. Right. Let's go back to what Leslie Ian Jones was saying. Talking about the narcissist. And I stupidly said, I don't know. Tell us more. Well, he has. Explanation. she was nice when she first moved in. Oh God, this
They
is like
always
a
are.
Netflix thriller or BBC. You know, several parts. Sunday night, she was nice when she first moved in and tried to help her, but that was green light to her self-importance. Women always spot in a woman what men cannot. That's true. So, Leslie and Jones' wife, recognized her narcissism long before me. It's nasty as they use others to get their own way. People don't believe you. Well, that's the trick, isn't it? People don't
Yeah, well,
believe you until they
narcissists
see it for themselves.
will only be nice to you if it serves them.
Oh
And
yeah.
I was talking about this with a friend of mine, and she said she knew someone, another female, and their partner was narcissistic. And this is the crazy makingness of narcissism, and this is why it confuses people so much. Bear in mind, if you're talking about a female friend, so her male narcissistic partner would try and get it on with all her female friends, this female's female friends,
Ooh.
right?
Ooh.
To prove to himself that he's got it, because narcissists are wounded deep down. But at the same time, was completely controlling.
They should be. They should be wounded.
So it's the ultimate wanting to have your cake and eat it, and that's crazy making.
It's very, very.
And the sad thing is, if people have been around a narcissist for a while, you can start to doubt yourself. The first
that's
thing,
the trick. I would have thought you're the
first
expert,
thing
and I'm not.
that people who've been in narcissistic relationships ask their therapist, because yes, that is where they'll end up probably, is am I a narcissist? Am I a narcissist? And that's really sad.
If somebody is a narcissist,
I'd love to get this lady on the show.
Okay.
Having conversations with, again, some great females in my life. This is it's called Living with the Dominator. Don't be fooled by the cartoon. It's a very serious.
Living with the Dominator.
Yeah, it's very serious. It's and it's basically it's from something called the Freedom Program for women that have been in controlling relationships.
Oh, wow.
And it lists all the kind of controls mechanisms that people use.
Get them on. Reach out.
Yeah.
Reach out. The trouble is, no, not the trouble is, that's entirely the wrong phrase, Russie. With a narcissist, they make you doubt yourself. That's how they get in. That's the chink in the armor that they squirrel through. And you start to think, no, they're right. And it's me. And I must be a terrible person, or I must be this, that, and the other. I'm not talking about the way we beat ourselves up. That's a separate issue. I'm talking about if you get into the orbit of a narcissist, because they're not stupid people. That's one of the things to understand. They are not stupid people. They're smart, and they know how to work. They know how to work it. And as you said, Longie, quite rightly, with the narcissist, the first thing you say to your therapist, if you had a therapist, is it me? Is my? And it takes a long time
to realize that it isn't you.
A long time to untangle, because it's so three-dimensional. Pernicious is a brilliant word. I was going to say it's so three-dimensional, and you are so sucked into it, and you can't step outside of it and go, this is bullshit. I'm being played here. Here we go. This is from somebody called Liz Saul. Narcissistic people. Hi, Liz. Okay. Narcissistic people, male and female, want to control the narrative. Absolutely. When they're challenged, they get nasty and rude. Totally. I see it regularly and can't be asked with them, even when I'm the only
one to see it.
Oh, she's such a modern kid, isn't she? Those teenagers, friends of yours. I'm the only one to see. I read 12 see it. I don't know. I can't read all this stuff. Yes. Oh, this is good. To finish the story, says Leslie and Jones, I love a story which has a complete three-dimensional 360 finish. His wife, not mine, is a Chinese dragon lady. Blimey. A narcissist had no chance against her. She takes no prisoners. Well, absolutely. Coming in from America, we got this, Neil.
Narcissism is very similar to dependent personality disorder. Both are highly insecure. Yes, this is it.
I don't know
While
what that is.
DPD is willing to convey their insecurities, narcissists market with a false veil of security. That's right. But it's a very brittle veil.
What is
Because
DP?
ultimately, they need something or want something from you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they wouldn't be interested in you. So they want something from you. They make it sound like you need them and that you need something from them. But the actual thing is, whatever it be, it recognition, be it attention, it's something they want from you. The problem is they will take and take and take and take and take until you've got nothing more to give, and then probably blame you.
It'll be your fault. What is all right? I've not heard this phrase before, and you and A's are on the same wavelength, and I'm way out of my depth.
I've not heard of dependent personality disorder.
It sounds like a delivery service.
What?
DPD. Your parcel will be here. Hey, DPD, your parcel, Mr. Long, will be with you between 2 and 5 p.m.
Well, yeah, that's someone else has used the acronym for that. You're absolutely right, but it's not what we're talking about here.
Okay. So dependent personality disorder is expand a bit.
I would imagine that's in the realm of codependency. It's just someone that really needs something, someone that is not, and Asa Don Brown, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I would interpret that as someone that isn't particularly self-possessed, shall we say, and needs constant validation from the outside world to feel better about themselves. Kind of in the same realm as codependency, I would say.
Interesting. Now, Elizabeth,
where healthy people don't need anything from you because they're quite happy being themselves, and ironically, they want to be around you more, or you want to be around them more because they're much easier to be around with.
Yeah. Well, everybody wants something from somebody in some sort of way, even if it's just friendship. Oh, look, bravo you. Neil Long, excellent definition.
Thanks, bud.
No, Elizabeth Green has lost me here. It was me for a long time, typo. So it was me. What was you? You were
and
a
what's the typo?
No, she said it was GIF for a long time.
Okay.
That Elizabeth, I'm completely confused here. Do you mean that you were a narcissist, or you were dealing with I have no idea. Interesting question. I'm not going to answer the question. It's just posited. I'll put it up there. I'm not going to get into it. Is Meghan Markle a narcissist working in full view? Answers on a postcard to Horace Batchelor, Canesham. You're all over 21. You can all work it out. Right. Right. So Elizabeth Green.
And that's the thing, Elizabeth. You will think it is you.
Oh, of course, every time.
And it makes you battle against yourself because, like you, Elizabeth, I'm sure most of us who don't have this personality trait try and be decent people. And then when you feel that you can't be decent because you can't fulfill their impossible demands, then you think, what's wrong with me? I'm lacking. And again, that's how they make you blame yourself.
Yeah, but you're not lacking. You're not lacking at all. And it's all messed up with this whole 21st century nightmare of nothing is never your fault. It's never your fault. It's always somebody else's fault. There's always somebody else to blame. No, there isn't.
Well, the definition I like...
That's not true.
The definition, I'm not too keen on the word fault, and I'll tell you why. It's because we live in a society where the slightest thing goes wrong, and I mean the slightest thing, and people pounce.
Yeah.
And we've seen people cancelled and lose everything overnight because they've been pounced on. Think of Caroline Flack, for example. There's one. Do you know what I mean? And that's one of the worst cases. So I can understand people being guarded. I can understand people being careful who they say what to. I can respect that. But there's a difference between, I like the phrase, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility.
Oh, that's good.
Because that
you won't take responsibility. That
puts the power, frankly, back on you, because then you're being at cause rather than being you're being at cause in the matter rather than being at effect of the matter, right? And if you
unravel that a little bit,
it empowers you. All right, let's.
Okay.
I'm going to. It's one of my favorite.
While Neil's doing that,
I got it. It's ready.
Oh right. Okay. Okie dokie. Go on.
Okay. So if you say it's not my fault, it's nothing to do with me. If there is a part that is something to do with you, then you don't have the power to change it. It's not the same as guilt. It's not about taking a fall. It's not about putting yourself down. But you could argue it's your responsibility. All right.
Yeah.
So you have the ability to respond in a way which is something more positive.
Yeah.
And that empowers you to do that, and it doesn't depend on the other person. That's the only reason to take responsibility.
Yeah. But
Right?
the point,
And it puts you in control. You know, and if we're talking about mental health or mental well-being, then we've got to be masters of our own destiny and not need or want, ideally, anything from anyone else. Because if they haven't got it to give, then we're going to start playing all those games to get it, and then let the games begin. And they're not fun games.
No, it's horrible. It's a complete quagmire. Here's the thing. The point I was making, and everything you say, by the way, I agree with.
Thank
The
you.
point is, everything now is no one says, do you know what? I screwed up. I messed up. And I put my hands up. It's my fault. And I'll sort it out. I take, all right, I'll use your phrase. I take responsibility for what happened. It's on me. I'll resolve it. That's the kind of grown-up thing to do. But when you blame everybody, I mean, on a Friday, a stupid example. Here's a really, really silly example, but I think it's a pretty good example because it's kind of neutral, right? There's no politics or religion involved in this. On a Friday, every other Friday, we have the midday show theatre critic, who's become a pal, I have to say, called Jonathan Baz. I think
Indeed.
you know that.
I saw him on Friday.
Right.
It was good.
Yeah, thank you. And Jonathan Baz is fearless. He doesn't care, and he speaks his mind. There was a play on in the West End. If you're watching this all around the world, I'll cut this short. The play on in the West End, which means it's got as high as it's going to get in the United Kingdom. It's on Shaftesbury Avenue on the West End stage.
Yeah, pretty big.
And it was called, I believe, Opening Night, starring Sheridan Smith, written by Rufus Wainwright, who's a pretty mean hand at writing a good tune.
Well, they're pretty big names, as is Sheridan Smith. I love that.
All right. The show got very mixed reviews. A lot of people walked out. People I know walked out. And halfway, I don't mean they made a big fuss and look at me, I'm walking out. I mean, in the interval, they didn't come back. Okay. And it's closed early, costing, presumably, the producers and the investors an absolute double-breasted fortune. Now, what does Rufus Wainwright do? Rufus Wainwright puts out a big, long statement, and he blames Brexit. He blames Brexit for the fact his show tanked. And I read this and I thought, either this is a parody account, or it's satire, or you are delusional. And not only that, he then went on, which is unforgivable, to blame Brexit and the British audience for not being able to understand. Basically, what he was saying, reading between the lines, is it's a brilliant show and you're too stupid to understand it. No, the audiences are not too stupid to understand it. Okay, audiences
What's it about?
get it. I don't really know. Opening night, I think it's about, if I've got this wrong, everybody yell and scream at me, it's fine. As far as I know, Sheridan Smith plays an actress, there you go, leading up to opening night of the show. I think that's it. That's kind of it.
Okay. And
she's fighting her own demons, art imitating life. Anywho, I'm not going to get into the whole Sheridan Smith thing. It's none of my business, not my problem. So the show tanked, lost a fortune, closed early, and he blames Brexit. I mean, that's just ludicrous. It never occurred to him. I'm assuming it never occurred to him to think, well, maybe the show just wasn't good enough. Maybe it's the lyrics, which Jonathan was pretty critical of. Jonathan Baz, that is, our theatre critic. He said they were banal. But you have to look at it and you have to say, was it me? What could I have done better? If you're an artist, that's what you're striving for. I believe
that's the thing, because if you blame is the opposite of responsibility.
I'm dancing to the phone tune.
Okay.
See, I still got the
Great
move.
studio,
I've still
great
got the
studio
move.
discipline, right? That's very
It's
good. Very
incredible.
good.
Studio 54 is alive and well. Right. Where were we? Sorry, Neil. Go ahead.
And blame is the opposite of responsibility. If you blame,
Yeah.
then
You're not saying
receive any feedback because,
Yeah.
as far as you're concerned, you had nothing to do with it. As I say, people confuse it for taking a fall or guilt, even worse.
Yeah.
And it's not that. It's not that.
Yeah.
It's just being in control of what you can be in control of.
Yeah. But you know what it's like. Let's bring it down to a much more personal level with you and I. In seriously, okay, nothing as grand as a big West End show. You do stand up virtually every weekend, okay?
Yep, 2 gigs this week.
You know, as a professional, if you've done a good show, if you've prepared, if you've worked it out in your mind, and that you've done the best to your ability.
Yeah.
And you'd walk off, I'm not putting words in your mouth, but this is how I work. You'd walk off the stage and go, and if it didn't work out, you'd analyze why. And you think, what could I have done to make it better?
True, although sometimes, I'm not saying this is all the time because it's very easy to blame the audience, but actually sometimes it was the audience that maybe there wasn't enough.
Absolutely. No, I know. And
maybe it wasn't enough for them. Maybe they'd had a bad day. Maybe they didn't quite like the cut of your jib.
Maybe they were drunk.
It was them. But
you
still ask yourself how you could do better without feeling bad about it. It's just an honest question. Oh, that didn't work. It'd be like a DJ playing the wrong music.
No, Neil, you've hit on something really important. The point is, even that what you draw out of this is, even if the audience were drunk, or if the audience were in a bad mood, or whatever it might have been, they've had a bad day, you can still look at that and go, well, you know what? I did my best. I know in my heart, I did my best. Therefore, if it didn't land, it didn't land. You're never going to hit it every time.
No.
The audience will vary. But what I'm saying is, you take responsibility for that. You don't storm off the stage. Because I've known you, I don't know, 30 plus. Oh, God, I don't give up how long. I've known you 35 years or something ridiculous. But you don't storm off the stage. You don't blame Brexit. You look at it rationally, You look at it rationally. If I'm doing a celebrant service, funeral or whatever, or wedding or baby naming, whatever it is, I've worked my socks off to do the very, very best job that I can. And I will not be satisfied until I know that.
But that's all you can do.
That's right. That's right. And if somebody starts to get emotional in the congregation, you
can't control that. And the kind of things you're doing,
that's not on me.
Get emotional.
That's it. That's it. But what I'm saying is, this all came from the point about taking responsibility and not blaming everybody else when something goes wrong, is to blame. It's just so bonkers to blame Brexit several years ago. The fact that your play didn't work.
I don't see what that's got to do with it.
Well, there you go. That's the point. There's the point. Look it up. You could look it up.
What was his logic on this?
Well, you see, you've fallen at the first hurdle because you've said you're doing whatnot. Everything is linked to what was his logic in that. We're looking for logic when there isn't any. That's the trick. Because it's a word salad. It's a word salad. Half the politicians, we think, they're on television, they're being interviewed, they must know what they're doing. You listen to what they're saying, it's absolute trash. It's just trash. They don't know what they're talking about. Not clear. There's no straight talking. So it's taking it back and saying, I own this. If I messed up, I own it. Right? Yeah.
But it doesn't mean taking a fall. It doesn't mean you have to have paroxysms of guilt. It's just owning your part in it and responding appropriately, having that ability to respond. It could be a learning experience. Yeah, response ability.
You see, there's the difference. Went to see the magnificent Sir Tim Rice on Friday. I think it was Friday. His show.
And he is
incredible. It was incredible. Absolutely incredible. But he's had his share of things that didn't work out, and he didn't stand there blaming everybody else. He was extremely charming about it, and he said, "Yeah, it didn't work."
But everyone does. Everyone does. Even the most successful people, even I don't know, Michael McIntyre might not have a great night one night. I don't know, but
Hmm.
not everyone. They've only got that good as they have as the Michael
Hmm.
McIntyres of this world because they've had the practice. They've had the things that didn't work. They've learned from the things that didn't work, and then applied what they learned from the things that didn't work.
Yeah.
That's why that you can say there's no failure, only feedback when you look at it
And
that way.
also,
And that's another way of taking the sting out of it. But if you can't see that you had something to do with it, then you can never change because it's not about you.
and
It's always
also understand your audience. Now, Elizabeth Green in New York City says his understanding of Rufus Wainwright, his understanding of the Brits seems a bit lacking. He didn't understand them at all, quite clearly, to come up with Brexit. It's just a lame, and it's an excuse rather than I don't think the show was up to mustard. So it's anything you do. You're discussing Michael McIntyre, who's probably one of the most successful comedians in the UK at the moment. He knows his audience. He works hard at his craft. He does small focus groups. You know this. Before he goes on tour, maybe 12, 15 people, no more than that. And they all have notepads and they go through every gag and see which gag lands and which gag just dies on his ass and why. And he discusses it with them. You know, it all takes work. There's no magic quick fix. That's the great thing about life. You want it to be good, you got to work at it. You know, you got to put the effort in. As they say, the harder you work, the luckier you get. It's not luck. Yeah, everyone needs a shot of luck. Of course you do. You need a break.
Yeah, but I would also endorse working smart rather than hard.
Explain.
Not burning yourself out, but not putting your nose to the grindstone to the point that you burn out. Working smart. I'm not saying don't work. I'm saying work smart, not hard.
How do you decide, you, Neil, Longie Long, what to put your efforts behind and what not? How quickly do you look at something? Because I think this is really key to finding a bit of happiness in your life and making room. At what point do you think, you know what? No, this ain't going to work. This, no matter what I put into it, it's not, or I don't want to get involved in this because I can see from the outset it's never going to work. What point do you make that decision?
I don't know really. I haven't always been that good at doing it, but it is nice to be able to discern. But I'd say the rule of thumb is, how enjoyable is it for you? Do you enjoy it?
That's the thing.
Does it bring you joy? Does it bring you happiness? If not, what are you doing it for?
My mate, Colin Vaines, who's a very successful film producer, and he was given some advice, and it proved to be completely true. And this came from a film he worked with Madonna. Good luck with it. And a colleague of his, it sounds like I'm name dropping, so I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to say who it was. It was somebody huge, said, Colin, here's the thing. If going in, you have 1% doubt, by the end of that process, you will have 100% doubt it won't work. If you've got a 1% doubt, don't get involved because it's not going to work.
Then nobody will get involved in anything.
Well, maybe yes, maybe no. But if your little all right, I'll expand slightly. If your little voice is going, you know what? Take a film. I'll take a film as an example because I think it's quite good. If you think, do you know what? The script's not great. The people involved aren't terrific. Some of the members of the cast are really going to be difficult. No, I can make this work. That's what I'm talking about, the 1% doubt. Everybody, before anything, of course you have doubt. That's what I mean. But if you look at it logically and go, do I really want to? And the other thing is, do I really want to work with these people? Yes. You know, it's the thing about, I want the money. It's a job. It'll last for several months. If it's a movie or something, it could last a year. Do I want to be stuck with those people? So that's a big, big point. It's a big point. And I don't know about you. I never put words in your mouth. And I don't know about our audience. But I think the older we get, not the fussier, the more selective we are about who we work with. Because life is short. life is very uncertain. We don't know what's around the next corner. And if you're going to put time in with people you really know it's never going to work, you know, you keep going, but you're flogging a dead horse eventually.
That was exactly the phrase going through my mind. I think we do get more discerning as we get older. And we have a lot, I know Liz, who's listening, will bear this out, and we have a lot less tolerance, I would say, for other people's shit. Particularly if they want to bring
why should we have any? Why should we?
Because you know, if I can help, I will, and it's a pleasure to. But
that's different.
But if you can't, then it's just draining.
But that's, you know what happens there, and that comes back right the way back to the narcissists, right? You, Liz, I'll stick myself into this little party. You know, if we can help somebody, we will. Not because there's something in it for us, because we will. All right. But it's like, what do they want from you? What do they want from you? And putting up with other people's nonsenses. Why? I won't. I just can't do it anymore. It's just ludicrous, especially in business. You know, the moment and if it's wrong at the beginning, my warning sign is it's never going to be right. If it's iffy to start with, if you come out of the meeting and you feel, I don't know, there's something, you don't even need to quantify or identify what it is.
What you're talking about now is something like gut feeling, and we're all very kind of cerebral.
Yeah.
But the amount of people I've heard say, my gut told me and I didn't listen. So that would be reassuring in a way that we do have this pretty remarkably good guidance system, for want of a better word, within ourselves. But we need to look if we're being judgmental, surely.
I don't agree, Elizabeth, at all. Well, I don't agree with that.
There's a fine line between judgment and discernment. And if you need to be a bit judgmental to not get yourself in a horrible situation, you know, if somebody wanted me to go and commit an armed robbery and I was a bit judgmental of them, that doesn't still mean I feel sorry for them and go and do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The answer's still no, whether I'm being judgmental or not. You've got to put your own well-being first.
It's always, especially if it's a one-way street. You know, if it's always, you know, you're always being pulled and you're being emptied and you think, wait a minute, what the hell am I getting? Especially in a business relation, what am I getting out of this? I'm just getting aggravation. I'm getting beaten up here. I don't like this. This isn't the way to spend a day. You know, it's not what you want. If if you can enjoy what you do, it's bliss. It's wonderful. If you don't enjoy what you do, it's work.
Find a job you love and you'll never work another day in your life, said a wise person once.
It is true. But then I always think of, you know, those really hard industrial towns up the north of England, across America, you know, especially in what they call the Rust Belt. They don't have a choice. They don't have a choice. And I don't want to be, what can I say, metropolitan about it with the sort of London. I don't want to be a metropolitan and go, well, you know, if you can find what you like and your job is working down a mine because your grandfather and your father and your town is a mining town or it's an industrial steel plant town or whatever it might be, that's how it is. It's very difficult to break that cycle. And I understand that. And I have enormous empathy with that. So I always think with a lot of sayings, yeah, well, it's easier to say. It's easier to say. Try doing it, you know. We're lucky. We're lucky. Thank heavens we have a choice. Kind of. I see, Elizabeth, with the greatest of respect, because I really don't know. I met you twice for a cup of coffee, so I'm cautious because, like, I don't know you, but I have to look my part. I have to look at my part as well as listening to my gut. Well, do you really?
Yeah, but as long as you only own what's yours.
You know, if something fails and you've done your best and you've been dragged down by, I don't know, other people, look at your part and then you don't have to exonerate yourself, but you can say, well, I tried X, Y, and Z. That's fair enough. But if somebody just comes and starts driving you mad because they just want to use you, I don't think you have a part to look at all. You just go, no, thank you. I don't think so. Thank you for the offer. Very kind of you, but I'm going to.
As Megan Trainor would say, no. My answer is no. My name is no. My number is no.
It's not much of a lyric, is it? That was her lyric, was it? That was
It's
it.
a great song. It sounds like a Destiny's Child song. It's really good. It's called No.
Whatever happened to her? She's still going? I don't know.
Yeah, got a new song out. One based on it's Charleston-y. It's got a Charleston-y kind of sample to it. It's nice.
Here's a question I've never asked you. All right. We're of a certain age. You're younger than me. I'm as old as dirt. Here's the thing. You are on Radio Jackie every breakfast show. You play music. We don't play music here, but I couldn't bear it. And it's talk-based. So I'm not playing the PRS either, quite frankly. Do you still... I'm not talking about the broadcasting. I'm not talking about your colleagues, because I know you love all that. And I've met your colleagues, and they're great. They're great fun. They're very nice people.
Thank you. They are. And
I had Spinham Dex on the show on Friday, as a matter of fact.
She is a beautiful woman.
Yeah, she's a nice person. That's Emily Dexter, by the way. Do you still enjoy the music? I'm not putting you on the spot. Do you like the music that you play? Because I know it's on a playlist. So
the music playlist was freshened up relatively recently, and now I do. Now it's been refreshed, and they're compiling it in a different way. Plus, over lockdown, an awful lot of really good new music came out. So we're actually seeing quite exciting times music-wise now, where there's brilliant new music coming through, and new music from classic bands, like, for example, Deep Purple, for example, have got a new song out and stuff like that. So for that reason, yes, I do, but just the same old songs because they test well, so we play them 30 times a day. That used to annoy the listeners when I worked at Capital. People would say, great radio station, but why do you repeat the songs so much?
Do you remember what we were told? Because you're brave, I'm going to use the word brave, would ask in production. We had these productions.
Reckless, I think, is the term.
Well, bonkers really was the term I was looking for. And we're not going to go into that particular avenue. But you would ask the powers that be, excuse me, why do we have to play whatever the song du jour was? Why do we have to play it? And they said this to us. And I remember I looked at Neil, I looked at that, and we looked at each other going, what the hell? We were told the audience needs, I promise you, this is word for word, the audience needs to hear the tune 70 times before it registers. And I thought,
rubbish.
What? And I thought, that is absolute madness. I don't care what a focus group says. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, it said it wasn't madness. It was normally M people. But
it was, oh my God. It was so, and of course, when I was in the Flying Eye, right,
now where did they get that stat from? 70 times? That's crazy.
Yeah, 70 times. I remember being told this, and I thought, this is complete rubbish. But of course, in the Flying Eye, because I had information going backwards and forwards, it was very, very busy. I couldn't take my headset off. So it was a form of torture for me. Highly paid torture, I give you that. But to have to listen to the same bloody tune, and sometimes, because if I was up there that long, they would play the same tune in one show, and then I'd go into the next show, and it would be on that as well. I was like wanting to scream. It just drove me mad.
Yeah. But if that stat was true, then why did so many listeners say that to me?
Well, that's the point. At one point, this is the madness of life versus good sense. But anyway, Elizabeth Green, right? I hate her officially. She's going to see the Stones on Thursday at the MetLife Stadium. I'd love to see the Stones again. Anyway, I think they're on fire. Yeah, fantastic.
Great new album, Hackney Diamonds.
Oh my God, what Hackney Diamonds? What an album that is! It's crackingly good. Funny enough, I was listening to it the other day. Here's the thing: we had Capital Gold. If anyone remembers Capital Gold, you've got all the music from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, even some of the 90s. So you've got a treasure trove of tens of thousands of fantastic tunes. And Tony Blackburn once turned around and said, do you know what our playlist is? And I went, I don't know, Tony, what's your playlist? At one point, there were 40 songs on it. 40 songs that they were allowed to play. I mean, what? You got the greatest.
Yeah, I don't understand
that. I don't get this. I never understood it. But these are some of the reasons why looking at it, the mechanics of why so many people get sick of radio, of music radio, because you hear the same damn thing over and over and over again, and it's repetitive nonsense. It really is. Yeah, as Graham Pack says, if I've told you once, my wife said to me, if I've told you once, I've told you 70 times. Precisely so. That's about it. That's about it. I love the discussions and the subjects that you bring up, Neil.
What I would say to Graham, to your wife, that to her, if you do ask a man to do something, he doesn't need reminding 6 months later.
No, he doesn't. I love that. Somebody once, just before we go, handed me a plate. It's not a joke, plate. And it said A round TUIT. And I said to this funny guy gave it to me. I said, well, what's this? He said, well, it's around to it. I told you I'd get around to it. And it was just A round TUIT. I thought that was rather
very
sweet.
good. Wednesday, we're talking to Claire Myers about this book, and it's quite a colourful story. So we'll be chatting to her about that on Wednesday. And you're back on Friday, of course.
I am back on Friday with the gang. Have a great show on Wednesday. I should be on a train on my way to Bristol for a funeral. Until then, thank you so much. Take care and try and stay out of trouble. Good to see you, Longie. Bye-bye.
Yeah, you too.